Welcome to Flipped Classroom. This is the unit on measurement, and we are looking at length and area unit conversions. Our learning intention is we are learning to convert length and area using metric units. And our success criteria is, I am successful when I can identify the metric units of measurement, understand how the metric units are interrelated, and convert between the different metric units. So let's start off and think about some of the units of measurement we would use for the following items: the height of the wall of a room, the area of a sheet of paper, the perimeter of a state, and the size of a dot on the die. So if we're looking at the height of the room, we'd probably measure it in meters. Now, if we're trying to build something, we might move down in units to centimeters, but generally we'd look at a room and we'd think it's 1.5 or 2 meters tall. For the area of a sheet of paper, we'd look at centimeters squared, because its area, we know it's going to be a squared unit. For the perimeter of a state, we would look at kilometers. And for a dot on the die, we'd look at the millimeters. It'd be how many millimeters across that dot would be. Now, when we're converting units, it's good to use a chart like this. We have each of the units from millimeters up to kilometers, and we have arrows going between each of the units. Now, as we start at a big unit and move downwards, we multiply by a number. Now, from kilometers to meters, we multiply by 1,000, because in 1 kilometer there is 1,000 meters. From meters to centimeters, we multiply by 100, because in a meter there's 100 centimeters, and we know that there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter, so we multiply by 10 as we move from centimeters to millimeters. As we go up in unit sizes, we do the opposite, so we divide. So from millimeters to centimeters, we're dividing by 10. From centimeters to meters, we divide by 100. And from meters to kilometers, we divide by 1,000. If we're jumping to, so say we're going from meters to millimeters, we can times by 100 and then times by 10. And we can show this in our workings. For conversion of area, you'll notice that each unit of measurement in area has that little squared symbol. And that's because we talk about millimeters squared and centimeters squared and meters squared and kilometers squared. When we're moving from a large unit of measurement, such as kilometers squared, to a smaller unit of measurement, such as meters squared, we're still multiplying. This time we're multiplying by 1,000 squared. So if you remember, from kilometers to meters, it was multiplying by 1,000. And this time we're multiplying by 1,000 squared, because 1 kilometer squared is 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters. So we square it. To go from meter squared to centimeter squared, we do it the same way. So we multiply by 100 squared. And from centimeter squared to millimeter squared, we multiply by 10 squared. Now you can get out some graph paper and find some graph paper that's millimeter squared units and draw a square. And you can see that it is 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters, and you can count up the 100 little squares inside that centimeter squared. Likewise, as we did in converting lengths, converting area, when we go upwards, we divide. So again, same numbers. So from millimeter squared to centimeter squared, it's divide by 10 squared. From centimeter squared to meter squared, it's divide by 100 squared. And from meter squared to kilometer squared, it's divide by 1,000 squared. Here we have some examples. So for this one, we're going to convert the following lengths to centimeters. We have 37 millimeters and we have 2.54 kilometers. So on the left, I have my thinking, and on my right, I have what I will write down to show my teacher that I understand this. For the first one, we know that there are 10 millimeters per centimeter. And we know that millimeters are smaller than centimeters, so we're going to divide by that 10. And that gives us 37 divided by 10 equals 3.7 centimeters. Now it's important to show our working, what we're dividing by, and it's important to put those units on at the end. Otherwise, it is not the final answer. For part B, we know that kilometers are bigger than centimeters, so we're going to be multiplying And because they're not next to each other, we're doing 2 steps. So we're going from kilometers to meters, which is multiplying by 1,000, and then meters to centimeters, which is multiplying by 100. So our working for this, we can do it all in one line. So we can put in 2.54 multiplied by 1,000 multiplied by 100, all on the one line. And we know that that equals 254,000 centimeters. And again, we've put those units on there. So this is the workings to show your teacher that you know what you are doing. Now let's convert some areas. So we're going to convert the following to meters squared. So we're going to start off with 56.5 kilometers squared. So we know that kilometers squared are bigger than meters squared. So we're going to multiply by that 1,000 squared. We write down 56.5 times 1,000 squared. Now you can do this in your head, or if you're having trouble, type it in on your calculator, and we work out that that is 56,500,000 meters squared. And again, we've written those units, and we must make sure we don't forget those squared units. For part B, we are looking at millimeters squared to meters squared, and we know that millimeters squared are smaller units than meters squared, so we're going to be dividing. And we're going to go from millimeters squared to centimeters squared, which is dividing by 10 squared, and then centimeters squared to meters squared, and that's dividing by 100 squared. So again, this is a 2-step operation. In our workings, we write 84,600,000 up, divided by the 10 squared, and then divide by 100 squared. We can do this in our head, or if we want to, on our calculators, and we get 84.6 meters squared. Again, we've shown all our workings here for our teacher, and we've made sure that we've put our units and we're using the correct units. The area, it'll be a squared unit. Our reflection for today is thinking about converting to capacity units. How is that conversion of length units similar to the conversion for capacity units? As always, like the video and subscribe for more videos for learning.